Scald forces the final Protect Shield. Charizard going to get the Wing Attack farm down. However, we can send back out Ampharos. The opponent's final Pokemon is Gengar. Someone call 911. We're about to witness cold-blooded murder. Welcome back to the channel. Ultra League, without a doubt, is the XL Abuse League. So today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most accessible teams. All three of these Pokemon have had com days. You've had plenty of time to obtain them. And you can actually run this team as a triple non-XL team. Ideally, Poliwrath does want to be XL'd. If you've got a 0 attack, it's going to be like level 45. So again, not the most expensive pick. Today's battles have been submitted to the channel by a very talented Austrian battler who we're going to call Active, as I am dyslexic and I definitely cannot pronounce his in-game name that you see on the screen. He told me that he plays a bit more casually. He normally reaches around veteran rank. He likes to run a lot of spice. However, he does have aspirations to make legend one day. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we lead Shadow Ampharos into Scrafty. Two better responses in the back, we save switch into Charizard. Although this team isn't technically an ABB team, both Charizard and Poliwrath will struggle against common water types like Tapu, Fini, and not so common water types like Tentacruel. So the idea of the team would be to hopefully save switch into Charizard, bait it out, kill it with Ampharos, and hope Poliwrath can close. As the opponent fired off the foul play before switching in Cresselia, that suggests to me this opponent probably got Grass Knot and Moonblast. The opponent fires off the Grass Knot. Charizard withstands the damage Active, looking to fire off two more Blast Burns. We've already forced one Protect Shield. The second Blast Burn lands for huge damage Active, recognising he's going to get Psycho Cut, farm down, settles for a Dragon Claw. Charizard put in a whole heap of work in this battle. We send back out Ampharos. We find this Cresselia in a bit of an awkward health range where we're going to be unable to Volt Switch farm down Active, commits a Protect Shield, and unfortunately we get baited with a Grass Knot. The opponent lightly running Moonblast as a second move. They finally send the Moonblast. Ampharos withstands the damage Active, very nicely over farms to the back-to-back Brutal Swings. This Brutal Swing will be secure on the knockout, and it's now time for Poliwrath. We spam into Poliwrath again. The opponent continues to stay in. Are they core broken by our big muscular fighter? Let's find out. Poliwrath can tank whatever the opponent throws. They fire off the foul play. Poliwrath says, is that all you've got? And the opponent's final Pokemon is the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death Talonflame. We fire off the first Scald, forcing the final Protect Shield. We then throw two counters and the next Scald for optimal fast move timing. This second Scald gonna land for huge damage. Poliwrath then commits the resisted counter farm down and the opponent concedes the match, and we're off to a 1-0 start. Heading into the next battle, a great lead, exactly where the team wants to see it, as our backline really struggles against Tapu Fini. The opponent save switch into the happy looking squirrel Greedent, and we answer with Poliwrath. Greedent this season did get access to Mud Shot, which does give it better energy generation. However, when you're running Bullet Seed, it's slightly more advantageous in matchups against Tapu Fini and Poliwrath. You can see after tanking just two body slams with the Bullet Seed damage, Poliwrath already getting super low. We fire off the Scald. We then commit to the counter farm down. So in the 0 shield, this is actually a super close matchup. Back out comes Tapu Fini. Active commits to the Scald. Scald gonna land for decent resisted damage, getting Tapu Fini down below half health. The opponent commits to the full resisted Water Gun farm down, and this Tapu Fini is now absolutely loaded. The opponent opts to instant throw, allowing us a full 4 turns of energy. The opponent fires off the Surf. We then return fire with the Brutal Swing on the CMP type. Brutal Swing is resisted and does force a Protect Shield. Active could match shields and then commit to the Volt Switch farm down. I imagine the opponent not going to let us farm down. They're likely to pivot. The opponent does pivot out into Cantonian Muck. We fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing going to land for some decent chip damage, and it's now time for Charizard. Charizard not going to appreciate the Thunder Punch, and Muck is going to be so spammy to him. We tank the Thunder Punch. We're already down below half health, and these poison jabs are going to really start chunking. Active farms up, fires off the Blast Burn on the CMP type. Blast Burn forces the final Protect Shield, and I think we're in trouble. Charizard rapidly running out of HP, and our Ampharos is low as well. We shield up the next Thunder Punch. Charizard over farms. I think we needed to full send the Blast Burn, as I don't think Dragon Claw will be lethal. Muck does survive. We don't get the Wing Attack farm down. The opponent Poison Jab farm us down. This is only a Thunder Punch, which is resisted, but Ampharos rapidly running out of HP as well. The opponent sent back out Tapu Fini, and unfortunately we get Water Gun farm down and lose an incredibly close game. GG's to that opponent. Tapu Fini did fire off back-to-back Surf, so I think there's no reason not to fire off the Blast Burn the second time. We could have just Volt Switch, farm down Ampharos. Getting into the next battle, we see a great lead. Shadow Ampharos into Charizard. This opponent also opted in for a Greedent Save Switch, and this Greedent is actually running this season's new move of Mud Shot. We opt to come into Charizard rather than Poliwrath. I think both are okay, to be honest. Charizard, not the bulkiest and not really going to appreciate the spamminess of this cheeky little squirrel. The opponent correctly shields up a Blast Burn active, gonna match shields. Charizard now going to farm up, fire off the next Blast Burn. Is Blast Burn enough to knock out this squirrel? No, it's not. Greedent holds strong with its absolutely ridiculous bulk. Looks like Greedent will be winning the one shield. However, switch advantage not that important to us. We've got two responses to Charizard. We send out Ampharos. The opponent responds with Snorlax active. Farms up, baiting a Focus Blast, but sending the Trailblaze. The opponent craps their pants, fearful of the Focus Blast. We don't have it, but you've always got to fake it till you make it. The opponent bank a boatload of energy on their Snorlax, send back out Charizard. Charizard gonna fire off the Dragon Claw. Poliwrath withstands the damage, active farms up, fires off the Scald. Scald gonna land for huge super effective on Charizard. Charizard gets vanquished, return to their Pokeball. We've still got one Protect Shield, too hard behind. Where does active spend it? We shield up the Body Slam. We look to commit to the Scald. Unfortunately, we get outpaced. This Body Slam will be knocking out Poliwrath. Snorlax is a Poliwrath counter confirmed. However, Ampharos says, don't worry, buddy. I've got your back. We come in, fire off the first Brutal Swing, getting Snorlax down into the red. We make Brutal Swing number 2, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Ampharos into a Alolan Sandslash. Not the best lead, not the worst lead. We actually opt to send out Poliwrath, which is our hard counter, and we ironically are hard countered by a Gliscopod. Gliscopod does wall Poliwrath's entire moveset. However, Gliscopod forgot its defense stat and they're already down below half health. This season, Gliscopods usually run Aerial Ace, and this opponent does have Aerial Ace, but you can see, despite it costing less energy, it's still a really poor charge move. A move I like to call Aerial Ace. The opponent forced to throw 2 to knock out our Shadow Fighter. We can now send out Ampharos, commit to the full Volt Switch farm down. I really like this play because when Sandslash does return, we'll likely get a shield as the opponent will probably crap their pants, fearful of a potential Focus Blast. Let's see. We've got enough energy for the Focus Blast. We fire off the Brutal Swing, forcing a Protect Shield. We then fire off yet another Brutal Swing. To be honest, I would have personally banked this energy and sent out Charizard, as one Blast Burn will definitely knock out. So I think that's kind of a waste of energy. However, let's see if we still manage to pull this game off. The opponent pivot out into Poliwrath, down a shield against the loaded Charizard. We full send the Blast Burn. The opponent likely just to fire off Ice Punch after Ice Punch. We shield up the first Ice Punch. Can Charizard wing attack farm all the way down? No, Poliwrath makes one further Ice Punch. Active, gonna commit his final Protect Shield in. The opponent actually fired off a Power Up Punch, I believe. Sandslash does return to fire off yet another Ice Punch. Ice Punch gets Charizard down into the yellow. We fire off the Blast Burn on the CMP type. This should be forcing the final Protect Shield. Is the opponent going to try and undercharge this move? Let's see. The opponent actually full send the Ice Punch. They don't hit the undercharge, which is going to allow Ampharos to come in, reach the Brutal Swing, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we lead our Shadow Ampharos into a shiny Poliwrath. I love that shiny, very cool in green. The opponent says switch into Auroras, and we answer with our own Shadow Poliwrath. The opponent says fuck the algorithm, this game is trash, and concede the match. In the next battle, we lead Ampharos into Walrein. Ampharos out here winning all the leads. I thought this opponent was also going to top left. However, they were just lagging. Look at the sportsmanship on display. Active says, I've hard one lead. We'll let you catch up, buddy. Allowing the opponent to get some free fast moves. To compensate for the lag they experienced, they save switched into Escavalier and we answer with Charizard. So far this is looking like RPS for the win. However, Active gets too greedy, plays to a CMP tie that he does not win, allowing Escavalier to fire off yet another drill run, getting us down into the red. Charizard gonna fire off the Blast Burn. Blast Burn would kill Escavalier and all its relatives. The opponent commits no Protect Shields. Back out comes Walrein and Charizard gonna fire off yet another Blast Burn. The opponent not willing to shield, knowing we've got Ampharos. Charizard claims 2 victims and the opponent's final Pokemon is Giratina. Giratina has 2 Protect Shields too high behind, but we've got so much energy on Ampharos. We fire off the first Brutal Swing, which goes unshielded. Active also has 2 Protect Shields of his own, and I imagine we're going to start investing them here. We shield up the Dragon Claw. Active then farms up to the back-to-back Brutal Swings. This Brutal Swing should finally be forced to the Protect Shield of Giratina. What the heck is this opponent saving them for? They do invest that first Protect Shield. Active going to invest his final Protect Shield on the Dragon Claw. We bank the Brutal Swing for later, pivot out into Poliwrath. Before Poliwrath got access to counter, when it had Mud Shot, this was actually a fairly neutral matchup, as we were super spammy to the Ice Punches and the Mud Shots were neutral, whereas the counters are double resisted. Active fires off the Ice Punch, forcing the final Protect Shield, and that is going to be check and mate, as they're definitely in Brutal Swing range, even if the opponent farms up 2 back-to-back charge moves. Ampharos definitely is not losing CMP to Giratina. Active, playing with his food, fires off the Ice Punch, goes for a cheeky undercharge. The opponent will be taking us out with a Dragon Claw. We've got the Brutal Swing locked and loaded, and it's going to be hi Giratina, bye Giratina, get fucking wrecked. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle we lead Shadow Ampharos into another Sandslash. Let's see how Active plays this one out. Again, we hard switch into Poliwrath and we see yet another Glisserpod. Is this the same battle? I don't think so, as I didn't edit these. This was how the video was sent to me. The opponent again fire off an Aerial Ace. Poliwrath gonna return fire with the Scald. Scald is resisted. However, Glisserpod so glassy we get him down below half health. This definitely looks like deja vu. Please tell me this isn't the same battle. The opponent fires off another Aerial Ace. We're gonna come into Ampharos. Get a very nice Volt Switch farm down. However, not before this Glisserpod fires off the Liquidation. I'm now starting to get worried. Is this the same battle? Let's see if we bait the Focus Blast. We are baiting the Focus Blast. Does this opponent also shield? No, they don't. This definitely isn't the same battle. So we send out Charizard, this time banking the energy, and that is a play that I very much like. The last team had Poliwrath in the back. Let's see if this opponent also has Poliwrath in the back. Yes, they do. Again, we've got a huge energy lead. However, we've both got 2 shields apiece. Active, full sends the Blast Burn. Poliwrath allows the Blast Burn to go through. Active, gonna need to start shielding. Last second, we commit a Protect Shield on the Ice Punch Charizard. Now, wing attacks, starting to chunk Poliwrath. We fire off the Dragon Claw. We need this Dragon Claw to be lethal. Is it enough? No, Poliwrath far too thick. If that Dragon Claw would have knocked out Poliwrath, we could have forced a Protect Shield with the Blast Burn. However, like this game's over and we're going to concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Ampharos into Tapu Fini. Let's go. The opponent safe switch into Skuntank and we answer with Poliwrath. This season, Skuntank got access to Trailblaze. Come on, Active, please shield up the Trailblaze. We do commit a protection and the opponent is not baiting. They full send the Trailblaze, which not only would hit for super effective, but also vamps up their attack. Poliwrath farms up, full sends the Scald, and it looks like the opponent looking to make a play for switch. Active last second, commits a protection again. The opponent fires off the Trailblaze. Poliwrath fires off the Ice Punch. We go for an undercharge. However, the opponent looking to play out the 2 shield. Poliwrath looking for the counter farm down. We just about get it, surviving on minimal HP. Back out comes Tapu Fini. We had the Scald, however, fire off the Ice Punch. I think it's a bit of a misplay as Scald would do more damage and has a chance to lower the opponent's attack. It's now all shields down, however, we have the correct alignment that we want. The opponent continues to stay in, allowing Ampharos to reach the Trailblaze. Trailblaze vanquishes Tapu Fini. back to their Pokeball. The opponent's final Pokemon is Kofagrigus, and this coffin is quite literally about to be put 6 feet under. We fire off the Brutal Swing, which lands for huge damage. As it's boosted, we show them the Charizard, and the opponent realise their fate and concede the match. Ampharos into the Walrus. Again, the opponent stays in. It looks like Walrein leads. Definitely don't have a great answer to Ampharos. A lot of Walreins come with Charizard. The opponent fires off the Icicle Sphere. We withstand the damage. We look to fire off the Trailblaze. However, the opponent make a very nice catch. Catching the Trailblaze onto Giratina like an absolute savage. However, now as we're boosted, this Brutal Swing is going to do huge damage. Brutal Swing forces a Protect Shield. The opponent making all the correct calls. We then pivot out into Charizard. However, Charizard won't appreciate the Ancient Power if the opponent's got it. We call the bait. The opponent just fire off a Dragon Claw. Huge cojones on display from Active. We're now going to fire off our own Dragon Claw as we're on a non-Shadow Charizard. These Dragon Claws do not do enough to the bulky beast Giratina. Giratina fires off one more Dragon Claw. Charizard withstands the damage. The opponent then looks to catch a Dragon Claw onto Walrein. Active shows great discipline, holding his energy, full sending the Blast Burn, vanquishing Walrein. Back to their Pokeball, back out comes Giratina. Charizard dies with the Dragon Claw, which is heartbreaking. That Dragon Claw would have been lethal from this range. We've now got to send out Poliwrath, and these counters are double resisted. Giratina fires off the first Dragon Claw. This is going to be such an aggressive counter farm down. Active doesn't fancy going for the resisted counter farm down, so fires off the Ice Punch, forcing the final Protect Shield. The opponent's final Pokemon is Tapu Fini, and this is not looking great. Poliwrath can only hit for resisted. However, in return, we do withstand the Water Gun damage. We fire off the first Skull, which actually lands for decent damage. We've already got Tapu Fini down below half health. Poliwrath does have 2 Protect Shields, 2 hard behind, but we are rapidly running out of HP. Poliwrath down, getting into the very deep red. We're going for an Ice Punch bait. The Ice Punch forces the final Protect Shield. The opponent gonna Water Gun farm us down. No, they don't commit to it. Active still has 1 Protect Shield. We shield up the Surf. Return fire with the Ice Punch. Ice Punch won't do a lot. However, hopefully it puts it in Volt Switch farm down range. We fire off the Ice Punch, pivot out into Ampharos, and 1 Volt Switch is enough to take that game. Ampharos into another shiny Poliwrath. This Poliwrath needs to get itself to the gym, as that is a very small looking Poliwrath. The opponent save switch into Drapion, and we answer with Poliwrath. The opponent's Poliwrath must be extra small, as ours looks enormous in comparison to theirs. However, it looks like I am getting sidetracked, so getting back into the commentary, we tank the Sludge Bomb, return fire with the Scald. I was almost certain this would be my own line of Poliwrath, double Dark Poison, but the opponent actually has their own Ampharos in the back. Poliwrath still not done, fires off the Ice Punch. The opponent get a very nice Volt Switch farm down. Have we now enter the mirror? We fire off the Brutal Swing, but lose CMP. The opponent strikes first with their own Brutal Swing. We withstand the damage. Is the opponent going to give us their first Protect Shield? Yes, they are. Our Charizard doesn't really want to see this Ampharos, so I imagine we're going to shield, and that's exactly what Active does. We do lose CMP, so we're going to have to fire off after 2 Volt Switches. A very nice play from Active. We've already seen we lose CMP, so he doesn't play to that. Brutal Swing forces the final Protect Shield. Are we going to invest our own Protect Shield in? No. We're putting all our hopes and dreams on the back of Charizard. The opponent send out Poliwrath. Charizard just needs to overfarm enough to be able to outpace Ampharos. I believe they're 1 Volt Switch away from the next charge move. We fire off the Blast Burn, which does land for decent resisted damage. Where do we spend our final Protect Shield? We shield up the Ice Punch. Can Active manage his energy well enough to win this game? We actually full send the Blast Burn here, recognising last time we fired off a Dragon Claw. Poliwrath did survive. Back out comes Ampharos, and we do not manage to wing attack farm down. The opponent fire off the Thunder Punch and win a very close game. GG's to that opponent. Let's see if we can bounce back to winning ways. Ampharos into Trevenant. This is where that Brutal Swing coverage comes in clutch. We farm up, go straight for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, not the best move, but Shadow Ampharos hits really hard and we force an early Protect Shield. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy. I think this smells like a seed bomb. Active agrees. However, we're both wrong as the opponent nukes us with the Shadow Ball. Fair play, I suppose. We now send out Charizard. Charizard, gonna have to respect the potential Shadow Ball. I think this is a great opportunity for the opponent to bait. However, this opponent, just a fan of nuking the shit out of us, sending Shadow Ball after Shadow Ball. The opponent now send out Skunk Tank. Charizard full sends the Blast Burn, which lands for huge damage. We then pivot out, looking to catch a crunch onto Poliwrath. We're unsuccessful, so we're now going to have to eat a Trailblaze. No, the opponent's got Flamethrower. What the heck? That allows Poliwrath to get a huge counter farm down. Back out comes Trevenant. We farm up, fire off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch won't be lethal, but will get Trevenant incredibly low. The opponent recognises they can't tank it. We get the counter farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is Drapion, another person running the classic double Dark Poison backline, but Poliwrath gonna fire off the Scald, forcing the final Protect Shield. The opponent gonna need to dump energy. We can easily let this move go through. The opponent fire off the Resisted Crunch, which does take us out. Charizard reaches the Blast Burn, and my poor little channel mascot Shadow Drapion is about to get wrecked. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, Ampharos into Charizard. Beautiful. The opponent save switch into Snorlax, and things are looking absolutely fantastic. This is where Legacy Counter comes in clutch, as the big thick boy not appreciate being punched in his big fat belly. It looks like we're going for the one shield and counter farm down. I'm not sure if I like this play. I guess we're going to force both Protect Shields off Charizard, so perhaps it is the correct play. I probably would have personally threw 6 counters after the body slam and just looked to CMP tie, so I didn't have to go down shields, but that's just me. Back out comes Charizard. We fire off the first Scald, forcing the fast Protect Shield. We then fire off Scald number 2, so we do get both shields back. So actually that isn't a bad trade-off. I take back what I said. However, Charizard is going to leave her a Blast Burn, so we're likely going to have to give the final shield back, but the opponent switch out into Gengar. Someone call 911 as we're about to witness cold-blooded murder. Gengar gets vanquished back to their Pokeball. We then pivot out into the mirror, and with shield advantage, this is just game over. The opponent can throw whatever they like. They full send the Blast Burn. We withstand the damage. We're just going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to do some valuable chip damage to Charizard, and I guess at this stage we'll save our shield for Ampharos. The opponent still needs a Blast Burn to take us out. The opponent fire off their own Dragon Claw. Can they wing attack, farm us down? No, they can't. Charizard reaches our own Dragon Claw, and that's going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we'll lead Shadow Ampharos into the mirror. Shadow versus regular, who will prevail? Active, not messing around. Gonna fire off the Brutal Swing as soon as he gets it. The opponent takes the extra. Brutal Swing goes unshielded. The opponent farming up a lot of energy. What are they gonna throw? We are gonna respect it. The opponent fires off the Trailblaze. We then overfarm, fire off on the CMP tie. We lose CMP. This is just a Brutal Swing, but ouch, that hurts. If the opponent shields this, we could be in dire straits. Please, opponent, let it go. The opponent does let it go down, so we have got switch, but we are down a shield. However, the opponent sends out Gliscopod, so we're likely to get our shield back. We fire off the Brutal Swing, which does force a Protect Shield. The opponent then Shadow Claw, farm us down. I guess we're going to have to send in Poliwrath, as we've only got one Protect Shield and the opponent has a huge energy lead. We definitely don't fancy tanking the Liquidation on Charizard. Active does send out Poliwrath. Do they have Aerial Ace? Oof, it looks like they don't as they fire off the Liquidation. They must have Liquidation and X-Scissor. The opponent again fire off a Liquidation. They then pivot out into their own Poliwrath. Active fires off the Scald, fishing for that attack drop. Do we get it? I don't know, I can't see it. I shoutcast on my phone, but I'm going to say no. I can't read the moves at the best of times. This is in Austrian and it's actually 5 AM in the morning. Let's go. However, as always, we're getting sidetracked. We fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw won't be lethal, but does force the final Protect Shield. We then fire off Dragon Claw number 2 on the CMP tie. This Dragon Claw isn't lethal. Is this one a Scald? Let's see. The opponent fire off the Scald. Charizard withstands the damage. Back out comes Gliscopod. Charizard showing some unexpected bulk, because let's not kid ourselves, it's super glassy. We reach the Dragon Claw, we then pivot out into Poliwrath, get the counter farm down and take that game. And that is going to draw to a close today's Shoutcast. A huge thank you to Active for the incredible double Shadow, triple accessible team in the Open Ultra League. I think a lot of people hate Ultra League because it's so XL heavy. This team can be run completely non-XL, and you could see from these battles that it has got play against the meta. Today is going to be the final day of Ultra League. I think next week is looking dreadful. Psychic Cup, I'm not a huge fan of. Why do we want a meta with just Psychic types? Does anyone know? Does Niantic know? No one knows. But that is the idea Niantic have. And the only other option is Open Master League. Niantic, please bring back Master League Premier. For God's sakes, because people like me, who don't raid a lot, really struggle in that format. However, that being said, if you've got some Master League battles that you'd like me to shoutcast, I'd be very happy to do so, as I personally have hardly any Pokemon. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.